Hello, this is D, and I'm back with another video, and today we have an update on the UK situation with Microsoft and the acquisition. Now, Microsoft argued its case for its Activision Blizzard case with UK regulators by submitting some new forms. Now, it wants the UK regulators consider its cloud deals, its Sony Call of Duty agreement, and evidence from the FTC case. Now, this is coming from TheVerge.com. Like usual, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. Now, the article goes on to say that Microsoft has submitted a new change of circumstance document to the Competition and Markets Authority in the UK, arguing its case for a proposed Activision Blizzard deal to be reconsidered for approval. The CMA first blocked Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard in April, when the regulators making it clear it had concerns over the effect Microsoft acquisition could have on the emerging cloud gaming market. Weeks later, the European Commission then approved the deal thanks to Microsoft's cloud gaming agreements with Nvidia, Boosteroid, and others committing to the EU to open up cloud licenses access to Xbox and Activision Blizzard titles. Now, as we all know, Microsoft accepted the concessions from the EU and gave all the competitors a license to stream Call of Duty on their platform. So basically, they're not going to have to pay Microsoft any type of fees in order to stream those games. Now, this should have been enough for the UK. It should have addressed all of their concerns. But we all know how that story went. It didn't, and it went to the appeals court. Now, after the FTC decision, the CMA and Microsoft made a commitment to try to get this deal to work. They asked for their appeal to be stayed while they hash out the details of this deal. So this is a part of the procedure, everything that has to go through. Now, I see some people saying, oh, the CMA, they're not going to do this deal. They're just trying to hold up this deal. They're just trying to block this any way they can. They're still working for Sony. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I do believe that the CMA do want to get this deal done. Their legal system out there, it's a lot different than the North American legal system, I'll say that. However, it does appear that both sides want to get this done. Now, we're getting pretty close to that date. We could actually hear something about this deal this week. Now, it goes on to say that Microsoft now argues that the UK regulator should take into consideration its cloud gaming deals and the EU monitoring of them, the new Call of Duty agreement with Sony, and even fresh material from the FTC case, which undermines the final report's conclusions. Microsoft is also working on a final proposal to modify the merger agreement to address the CMA concerns more directly, which could involve selling off its cloud gaming rights in the UK. Now, based on this submission from Microsoft, I don't think they really want to sell off their cloud gaming rights in the UK, and I don't think that that is a fair outcome. Now, what I heard, I don't know if this is true because I don't know all of the companies that are in the UK, but what I have heard from many viewers is that the company that they want to spin it off to is actually a monopoly. It's the only company that is doing cloud gaming in the UK right now. So that would kind of negate the CMA's whole argument. Now, once again, I don't know if this is true, but if this is true, that is something that has to be looked into. I still don't get the CMA's concerns. Sony has signed an agreement. They're going to have that game on their platform for at least the next 10 years. We have cloud providers such as Boosteroid, Nvidia. The game is even going to the Nintendo Switch. Now, their argument is more with the cloud gaming aspect of it. Now, if this doesn't show Microsoft's commitment, I don't know what does. The EU said that you have to make this license free for everybody in the EU, for every cloud provider. Microsoft went a step further and made that available worldwide. So that should address the CMA's concerns. They made this concession in the EU, so this is going to be held by the law. If they don't do what they said, there's going to be a huge penalty, and this would affect their company. This would affect future deals. This would affect their pocketbook because they would be fined if they don't comply with the EU regulations. And let's just be honest, we know that Microsoft is going to comply. And the CMA knows that too. I think this is a case of kind of peacocking. The CMA, they just don't want to concede that they were wrong. But they were wrong. The numbers were wrong, and the FTC case proves that. And the CMA needs to look at all of that information in order to make a proper, concise decision. That's just my opinion on it. And it looks like Microsoft also has that opinion. Now let's read what they actually sent to them. Now they said on July 15, 2023, Microsoft entered into an agreement with Sony Entertainment that ensures that the Activision content remains available to Sony following the merger. The Sony agreement, and of course, this is all redacted, so we're not going to know the details of this agreement, but the CMA obviously can see all of this. As explained by Ms. Norman's witness statement, These are the matters Microsoft anticipates will be resolved shortly. The Sony agreement is highly significant in terms of continued supply of Activision content. As the CMA is aware, Sony was the principal opponent of the transaction and maintained that Microsoft was not serious about entering into a deal with Sony. As a change of analysis in relation to the theory of harm, I recognize there was no incentive for Microsoft to act in that way. Microsoft has always maintained publicly and privately that in line with its strategy to make more games available to more gamers on more platforms, it would not withdraw or withhold Activision games from Sony. The Sony agreement now formalizes this public commitment. The Sony agreement is an extension of a long-standing publishing agreement between Microsoft and Sony, covering, and I guess it's redacted, the GDPA is a very well-established and understood set of terms of dealing between the parties. The present Sony agreement, therefore, not only addresses the concerns of the most outspoken opponent of the merger, but does so on terms which are well understood by both parties. So there you have it. Sony has entered into agreement with Microsoft that addresses a lot of the concerns. As you know, Sony was the big proponent against this deal, and they have signed an agreement to ensure that this game will be on their platform. And like I said in previous videos, Sony kind of made a mistake here. They went so hard after Call of Duty that they forgot about all of the other titles that Activision produces. They have a lot of games, they have a lot of IPs, and the only one that is guaranteed to be on the PlayStation is Call of Duty. That doesn't mean Diablo. It doesn't mean all of the other games, Crash Bandicoot. Now, I do believe, like I said previously, some of these games will make an appearance on the PlayStation because from a financial standpoint, it makes sense, but it's not guaranteed. And the last contract that they signed, it didn't have that in it. The contract before, they were actually going to get some access to all of the Activision games that are on the PlayStation platform right now. They no longer get that deal, and it's a done deal because they signed it. This is now binding. And I think that the CMA really needs to look at this. They need to take in consideration the 10-year agreement with Sony over Call of Duty, their agreements with Boosteroid, with Nvidia, with Nintendo, the concessions that they made in the EU, and how they can be held legally responsible for it. Now, the CMA's argument was that, how do we know that Microsoft is serious about doing this? It's just a bunch of word salad. Now, the EU, this is in law. The FTC case is history. They have withdrawn from the courts. Yes, they can file again, but they've withdrawn the case. And we all know that the evidence was really weak. They got a public lashing, and the FTC is done with this. So this can pass in the States, in the rest of the world. We're only waiting on the CMA. We're waiting on the UK, and we know that Microsoft does not want to close over in the UK. And I got to say this honestly, Microsoft has the advantage now. So the UK, or I should say the CMA, really needs to get this deal done. And I think they will because they want to save face. So that's pretty much it. I think we're going to have a decision this week. I'm hearing by August 4th, we can have an announcement on this. Now, I believe that their deadline is August 29th, but the CMA is on record saying that they wanted to get this done as soon as possible. The judge that actually granted the stay said, get this done as soon as possible because there are repercussions from this not going through in the CMA because Microsoft is able to close out in the rest of the world. I think we're going to hear about it either the end of this week or early next week. I'll come back with another video. We'll do a roundup on it. And honestly, I just want my next video to be Microsoft finally closing this deal and all of us just popping our bottles of champagne and putting this behind us because I think Microsoft has some other things that they really need to start to concentrate on. Anyways, I wonder what you guys think about all of this. Do you think that Microsoft has presented enough evidence for the CMA to reconsider its position? Or do you think that Microsoft will be forced to sell off their cloud gaming in the UK? Like I've said, I don't think this is the right answer. I don't think Microsoft should be forced to sell off their cloud gaming rights in the UK. I think that the CMA should look at the other concessions that the EU made for this exact same reason. They had some concerns for the cloud, and they said that Microsoft would have to give this to every cloud provider in the EU. Microsoft went a step further and provided this for everyone in the world, including the UK. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. Like I usually say, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.